Hey, Christian here, and welcome back to another episode of Super Fast Income. Today with me, Luke van der Veer. He's a sales expert and founder of the website Rental Coaching. Luke, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm great, Christian. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. I'm so excited about today because this is a new opportunity. And I haven't seen or haven't heard many people talking about, and so I think it's quite exciting. Now, can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to start your business? What there was a specific moment or experience that ignited the idea of what you do? And also, what is this opportunity about?
Well, I guess I'll start with the opportunity. I think it'll make more sense for everybody. It's really treating websites like digital real estate, right? Like if you think about a property, you have a landlord and somebody has a property, they rent out all these apartments for a certain amount of money, flat fee per month to tenants. Bigger the apartment, the more money you can make. Website can be treated the same way. You can create lead generation websites and you can rent them to businesses that need leads. So that's what I've been doing. And what inspired me to do that was just not wanting to work a 9 to 5 job. I've never really fit in with this corporate culture where you go into work and somebody tells you all these things to do and there's lots of red tape and you just work for a certain amount of time or you have to stay there even if your work is done and then you leave. And you just keep doing that every day. And then hopefully someday when you're old, you could leave and stop working and maybe have enough money. That never vibed with me. So I was always trying to find a way out of that. And this was the way that I found to get out.
Awesome. So, can you walk us through the early days of your business, like from conception to its initial stages?
Yeah. I was trying to find just ways to make money online. And I never really thought this through completely. I always thought it was just some money amount. And if I hit whatever that amount was, I wouldn't need to work anymore. So I was trying different business models like eBay, Amazon, drop shipping, affiliate marketing, all the things. I tried all the stuff. And every time I would get some results, I might make some money, but I could never get it to a point where I could replace my job. It was always enough to be like close, or it wasn't consistent, or like the eBay, I was way past the amount for my job, but it wasn't, it was way too much work. Like that one, I was working 7 days a week, like 13, 14-hour days. It was terrible. So I realized it wasn't just about the money, it was about time and quality of life. Like I'd rather take a slight pay cut and just be able to do whatever I want when I feel like it. And I never factored that in up front. I was just looking strictly at money, like what makes the most, let's try that model. And I eventually came across SEO and I realized the kind of potential you could have with this, because not only could you create an agency, which is what I did originally, but you could treat websites like real estate. You didn't have to work for somebody else. You could create your own thing. And I paid for a lot of training in SEO to get up to a reasonable knowledge base. And then I kind of shifted it into what I'm doing now, just website rental, when I realized that I don't have to work for other people anymore. It originally started as an agency and I was just had a lot of clients. I was working for them, but then people ask you to do things all the time. So again, I still have a boss, not somebody I have to report to in the morning, but people are emailing me all day long. I'm getting random calls from clients. Hey, send me this report. Hey, upload this stuff to my website. And I don't want to sound entitled, but I'm like, these things are beneath me. Uploading pictures to the website is not worth my time. So I just transitioned out of that. I started building websites in niches that I was already in doing client work. And I was like, if I could build it for them, I could do it for myself. So I just invested things and I'm starting to do it for myself. People are calling me for the work now. And I was like, oh crap, I have to find contractors to rent these to. So I started calling people and just renting out the websites, basically, take over the top few spots in Google and then just rent the spot. And people didn't know what I was talking about. So people were confused, of course, when I was calling them. They're like, what do you mean? You mean you want to do it for me? I'm like, no, no, no. I already have it. You can rent it like an apartment and I'll just give you all the leads. And they're like, that sounds great. And I'm like, good, we're going to do that. And I just kept doing that over and over and over again.
So basically, just to clarify, you use SEO strategies to create and position niche website that generate
Mhm.
leads, and you treat them as a real estate so that you can rent this real estate, virtual real estate website that generate
Yes,
leads to contractors. And so they can use
exactly.
those leads to monetize it and get clients.
Yep,
Wow,
that's
that's
exactly what it is.
awesome. So usually to position a website on Google, I think this is the ambition for anyone with a website or a blog or working online. It, I mean, usually takes ages. How long does it take for you to position one of your niche website on Google to start generating leads?
The average is 89 days, but it really depends on like the niche and some other factors with competition and stuff. Like a lot of people, if without any kind of background or training, what I see most people do is just pick some random one that comes to top of mind. So people will pick things like a plumber, a roofer, and then they'll just instantly start doing that. But why would I pick something that I know everybody's in and that I know is super competitive and I know is going to take a long time? Like this is like what I did before. This was my original mistake, right? Just focused on the money. You can pick something that's a little bit off the beaten path and you'll have a much easier time ranking. You won't have to do nearly as much work. It'll get there faster and it'll stay there, which is the most important piece because I want the money to keep coming in. I don't just want it like, $8,000 a month now. I would rather have 5 grand a month forever. So it's strategic in how I'm picking.
Awesome. So who is this opportunity for and who is this opportunity not for? What would you say after you've been working on this project for years?
Well, I would say anybody who wants true passive income, when people say passive income online, it's become kind of a buzzword. So people will say, "Oh, get passive income," and it's not actually passive. Like when somebody says passive to me, that means I did the work once and then I'm not touching it and it keeps paying me. Like I have sites like that where I put it up, I ranked it, and now it just sits there. And I mean, I suppose even that's not passive because I still look at a report once a week for like 5 minutes to see where the line's moving and make sure it's okay. But I'm not like doing more stuff to keep it there. So to me, that's passive. So if you want actual passive income, that's a good way to do it. And I think that's really the key. Somebody wants something that's passive. And in addition, I've seen 9 to 5ers take this and quit their jobs. I've seen business owners generate leads for themselves. And I've seen people in the middle who just wanted to help people make more money with online businesses. So I think anybody who really wants passive income and kind of fits in there, this works perfectly for that. You could also parlay it into other things, which is what I'm doing now.
Awesome. So, how did your life change after you got all this free time? Because I think this is the ambition. Everyone wants to have free time and freedom and passive income, so they have more free time. And then at
Yeah.
some point, you realize, like, okay, now with all this free time, what I'm gonna do with it? Like, what was your realization?
It would have been helpful to talk to you sooner. I don't know. This is another thing I didn't think through. You got to like plan in advance what you want and then create the life you intend. I All I could see was just how much I hated work, and I was like, if I had time, I'd do all this stuff. And after the day I quit, it was weird because I walked out and it just nice sunny day. I'm just walking down the block and I felt this like wave of just freedom. I'm like, I can do whatever I want. It almost felt like being back in college on like a spring break. I'm like I had nothing to do. I was like no responsibility. I'm like this is great. But after a week or two of just not really knowing what to do, just hanging out, I was like I don't know what to do with myself. I have to find something to do. I can't just sit and like retire at 20 whatever. um, so I got a bunch of traveling in. I started doing all the things that I said I wanted. And even with that, I'm like, I can't do that 24/7. I'll lose my mind. I got to have somewhat of a routine. So I just went back to work. I'm like, all right, let's build some more sites and create some more money. I don't know. Um, and then people were asking me how to do this. So I was like, okay, I'll help some people do this too. So I created a coaching program. I started teaching people how to do it. So doing it myself and teaching people, I'm like, that takes up a little bit of time, but still got tons of free time. I'm like, what else can I do? I'm like, let's. let's acquire some businesses. I heard about somebody talking about that. I'm like, that's kind of cool. And the money potential was pretty huge. My brother didn't want to work a 9 to 5 job and he doesn't like doing this stuff with me. So it's like, whatever, I'll acquire something and he can run that. So then I started acquiring businesses, and then it's like maybe I could do some real estate too. So it's like you once you do this and you set it up, you could do whatever you want. I mean, I you could spend all the time you want in the world with your family. You can vacation all the time. Like if anybody's seen my Instagram, we're always on vacation. But it's like you choose to work. I think that's the main difference. I don't have to do it. You wake up when you feel like it and you do what you want when you feel like it. And that is the thing. I would give up all the money just to have that. But the money's really nice. So I think I'll keep it.
Awesome. So let's say you said you have a mentorship program. Let's say someone wants to do this by their own. What would be the process they have to go through to build something like you do?
So it's you got to find a niche that is worthwhile, and there's a lot of things that go into that. The just thinking about the niches, like sales cycle is like one of the things, right? You want a super short sales cycle, something that the person can get paid on rapidly. If I come to you and you're, say, a pool construction company and I have leads, I give you those leads. You can talk to the people and see, maybe if they want to do something and see if they're somewhat serious, but it's going to take you forever to close those because that sales cycle on that type of business is months and months. So even if I send you the best leads, you're probably not going to want to pay me a huge flat fee monthly, which would ideally be what I want for passive money, because you haven't seen anything from me yet, right? You're taking it on faith that those leads are going to work out and then paying me all this money. So one thing, a sales cycle, something with a super short one to make sure that the person can get some results fast so they trust you. Like I'm not selling people like the typical SEO agency that comes in and says, "Hey, let me do all this work for you. You're going to pay me all this money up front. I'll do all this work, and then you'll get results in like 4 months." That takes a lot of trust. I would rather just prove it up front and just hand you leads so I know what I'm talking about and I can do it. And then you're like, "Oh, this is great," and I give you some stuff for free up front. So sales cycles one, phone driven businesses, you could do something like a nail salon or whatever, but it's hard to track how many people are coming in. Like I have no idea if my stuff's working because I'm not there to see how many customers are coming through the door. And I also don't want to follow up with the business constantly to see, how many people are coming in and what's going on. I would rather do something where the phone calls are coming in so I can track it with call recording software and see, okay, I had no calls. Now I'm at 30, 40, 50, 60 calls a month. And I can see that progression. The customer sees the progression, obviously, and I know whether they're telling me the truth with how it's working out. They're telling me it's not making any money. I can hear right on the recording that they're booking all kinds of appointments. So I know I don't want to work with that person. Not true. Another thing to consider is traffic temperature. It's like, do I want to go into a market where I don't know anybody and I have to cold call people or potentially, reach out with some other method? I could do that. I have processes to do that pretty easy. But I would rather do it where I know somebody because that's like a guaranteed person I can send leads to. As soon as I have those leads, I can be like, "Hey man, you want some more business?" And they'll be like, "Absolutely. Cool, let's make a deal." It's just easier. And then target population size. Do I go into a market like New York City where it's enormous and there's tons of competition? Or do I pick a super small market and something very niche so that I don't have all that competition? And obviously, if you're following what I'm trying to do, I want to go on the super easy one. I want something that just super easy path, no resistance, no competition. I want to fight against the mom and pop shops that have no idea what they're doing. So then, even if I screwed up 90% of my process, I still end up ahead of them and it's super glued to that top spot. So I have consistent money coming in because as long as the leads are coming in, the money keeps coming in too. Somebody is always there to want it. And I love that about this.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
How many businesses are in the niche too? That's another thing. It's like if there's nobody there, probably not something great to be in. There's a reason nobody's there. But if it's loaded with businesses, I don't want to compete with all that. So it's always finding something in the middle. So those are some of the things to consider. And it's putting up a website that essentially is like the Wikipedia of whatever the niche is, so that you are the go-to source and Google trusts you over everybody else. I'm just outdoing the other people in the market. And then I take that website, I make sure it's formatted nicely so it converts well, rank it, and then once that's at the top, leads are coming in, and I just find a person that wants those leads. And you can decide how you want to monetize it, whether you want to do, flat fee if your goal is passive income, or you can do something like a pay per lead deal if you want, more money, or you can do a commission if you trust their ability to close. There's a lot of cool ways to do it. Or you could even do something like arbitrage. Like I did this with one of my sites. I had a site that I built in a low ticket market in my hometown. It's actually paving. That's not a great niche to go into. It's pretty competitive, but it happened to be easy in my area. And I built it up and I was trying to find a business to work with, and I couldn't find a good business because there's one major competitor in the market and it just absorbs all the other companies. And then a lot of the other competitors they just don't do good work. So that was an interesting one. I didn't see that until I was already in it. So I couldn't find a person that I wanted to rent it out to. And I was like, you know what? Let me just poach somebody. So I poached a subcontractor from the big company, and I essentially created my own company. I had a buddy of mine go do estimates, and you just walk off people's driveways, and I had the subcontractor give us, a price per square foot, and then we just took the difference. So instead of making 2 grand a month, we made 8 grand in the first week from one website. So it's like, not you could create. Here's another thing: who should do this? You could create a company from thin air. I just created a website, generated some leads, and it was enough money and enough leads that I could have built a paving company. But I don't have any interest in doing that. So we did that for a week, and then I transitioned into a flat fee with somebody else. But there's a lot of potential if you just start working your way through.
Can you share with us one example, like one case study in a specific niche or something that you've been successful?
Yeah, I mean the one I love showing is my car wrap site, Phoenix, Arizona vehicle wraps. I mean, you could Google it now. From there, you'll probably see it number one. It's number one for a lot of things, and that was the first one I did, where I was trying to rent it out for a flat fee passively. And that thing has been rented since I started, whenever 2016, 2017, something like that. And it's just been sitting there. And I found a company who was local. I had to go through a few people to find that person. The first person I talked to wasn't very good at sales, so he wasn't closing anything. But I eventually found a company that could actually close the leads, which they should be able to because they're organic, so they work out much better usually than paid. And people just wanted all kinds of things. They wanted to like change the color of their vehicles. There was businesses that wanted to advertise on the side of their trucks. So it was kind of a cool niche. I don't know that I would do it again because there's other problems with it, but I got lucky with the niche choice on that one, and it turned out really well. It took a while to rank, I think 4 months, but I pitched it $500 a month, and they're like, "Yeah, no problem," because they were closing tons of leads. So that was a steal for them, and it's passive for me. So it's one that I haven't touched in years. And every year I log into Stripe just to see how much that's made, and it just continues every month. So 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand cumulatively that I haven't had to do anything for in, well, 9 years, 8 years.
That's pretty passive.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't get much more passive than that.
So, for those people that are listening to us and they're probably professional business owners and they're not really familiar with the concept of paid advertising or organic, can you share the difference between paid leads and organic leads?
Yeah, I mean, I can only share in my experience. So, two of the businesses I was doing before I did this was, I built a Facebook ad agency and I built a Google ad agency. I just didn't keep it very long because it didn't allow me any free time. And the thing I noticed with the paid leads is that if it was some kind of emergency service or something that people needed right away, like a pipe just burst, like emergency water damage, the leads were great. People would call you, just first person they call, you go out, you got the lead. Awesome. But anything else where the person has time to make a decision, they don't have to do something right away, the lead quality went way down. Advertisements I see almost as like a nuisance, and people skip right past the ads and go to those organic spots. And for Google, it's usually the maps, right? Like it's optimized for mobile devices. So people are always on their phones looking around. And if you Google search something, the maps is the first thing you see. They don't even show the websites. It's just straight click to call button. So the conversions are massive. And then on desktop, you've got all that organic spot with the maps and then all the stuff beneath it. And you have the ads at the top, but I don't see people really going to that unless it's some kind of emergency thing. So I really like the organic traffic because it positions you better. It's like the person comes to you, which puts you in the position of power, right? You're creating a brand. You created a brand for this business, and the person on the other side, the user who's just Googling, is thinking, I don't know anybody who does whatever this is. Like, say their toilet breaks. I don't know how to fix that. I'm not a plumber. Who do I go to? So they Google, plumber in their city, and they look at the results, and they see me sitting at number one, and they're like, well, he must be there for a reason. Google must like him if he's there. And like they don't know that you can get yourself to that by doing SEO and different things. They just see that. They're just like, wow, that person must be great if they're there. And like Google's not really like that. Google has no idea. Maybe I'm a terrible company, but I'm number one because I showed Google I'm trusted and I played the game.
Can we go deep into the research phase? Like when you researching about an opportunity, a business opportunity in this niche or in a specific niche, what would you say are your first steps? And after obviously doing this for years, something that you learn that can accelerate this process?
The biggest thing is to skip all the niches that come to mind immediately. It's really tough for people to do that. So I know that advice is difficult to listen to. But if I just said pick a niche, everybody does the same thing. They think they don't, but they do. They choose lawyers, they choose real estate, plumbers, trees, concrete. It's all the same stuff every time. I say, pick a niche, and this is immediately what people tell me. Skip all of those. Go to a site like Home Advisor and just look through their list of niches. They have thousands of things you can pick from, and some of these you will never have heard of before. And you're better off with most of those than all these other things that everybody does. So there's your one golden nugget. Go to Home Advisor and look at the list because there's a million things. Skip HVAC, skip lawyers, skip concrete, skip trees, skip concrete, skip all of that. I'm not going to give you a specific one because this is part of it. You should choose something on your own and do the research. But go through and try to think of something that short sales cycle, right? Customer value is moderate to high, right? Hundreds of dollars, not something like $20. Like men's haircuts, terrible. Doesn't make any money. I'd have to generate thousands of leads to be able to charge my barber anything, right? So I'm not doing that. Right? I want something where I do a job and that job makes the customer or makes the business owner multiple hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. So that way, even if I only get them like 5 leads, I can charge a ton of money for that. All right. And then you just go through niche by niche. And if you don't know what it is, you Google search it and figure out what that niche is. Like the car wraps, I had no idea what that was. I was like, what the hell's a car wrap? I was just sitting out in traffic and I saw a truck pull up next to me and I was looking at it. I'm like, I see these vehicles all the time. What is this? So I went back. It's like, okay, advertising for the side of vehicles, like vehicle wraps. I'm like, I've never heard of this before. I'm like, that's what it was. It was just a special film they put on the side of the truck to advertise. And I was like, I don't know. But I looked it up and it was thousands of dollars. And I'm like, cool, let's do that. Now, the reason I said don't do that one is because a lot of people call in for their personal vehicles. And, a normal vehicle like my WRX is like $2,500 to wrap the car. It's like not everybody has $2,500 to just, spend whatever just to change its color. It's like an optional thing. It's not something you need, right? So another thing to think is essential services, just not plumbing. So that'll make it a little bit easier to filter through things.
That's great. And what tools do you use or you recommend for someone just starting out, or if someone wants to give it a try?
If you know how to build websites, then you're golden. If you don't know how to do that, then some kind of drag and drop builder is fine. I mean, you could use like a Weebly, a Wix, you could use like Elementor or something with WordPress, so you can get kind of that drag and drop feel. Like me personally, I don't know how to do code. I can read it now and maybe make some edits, but I can't like write that to create a custom site. I just outsource it to somebody. So I really like the drag and drop stuff. That's just to get the website up and going. And then in terms of calls and stuff coming in, you need call tracking software to be able to forward calls to the business so that it's not ringing your cell phone. Like I don't want my phone blowing up. I want to be able to direct it so when customer calls, it just goes to the business, and the ability to record it so I can hear how that conversation is going. Also, some rank tracking software. There's a million out there, so you can do whatever you want with that. I really like Nightwatch. It's kind of a fancier one, but I find that it's very accurate. So that's pretty cool. In terms of tracking progress for link building and rankings and so forth, everybody has different tools they like. Ahrefs, I'm a fan. Majestic, I'm a fan. SEMrush, I'm a fan. Those three are probably the three I use the most. I mean, I guess it's kind of how, depending on what you want to look at to determine what you think a good link is. If you think trust flows the way, Majestic. If you think domain authority or domain rating is the way, Ahrefs. I've always kind of tested both and used ones. I use different strategies to try to find the fastest way to go. So I'm always testing different combinations and things to try to make my process better, faster. And those are the two I like. And I think that's pretty much it for the softwares. It's like you're ranking and you're just watching the rank tracking software to make sure you're trending in the right direction. And as long as I'm trending up, we're going to continue the process as is.
What would you say? How much would be a running cost for this sort of business?
In terms of like ongoing, so like ongoing fees are not very much. I mean, call tracking, $50 a month, all other tools and things, another $50 or so. And then you have your domain cost, 10, $20 a year, hosting, 30, $40 a year, something like that, $100, depending on what host you use. So not a ton. The biggest amount of money is spent with mistakes. You're just building sites and spending time. I think time is the thing that slips away the most, and people don't set a dollar figure to their time. So they're like, "Oh, I'll just wing it and see what happens." The biggest cost, I think, is the months and months, if not years of time just making mistakes and screwing up, choosing the wrong niche, building something and hoping, I hope this way I'm doing it's right, or going online and looking at YouTube videos and blogs, and one guy says, hey, do it this way, and the other guy says, do it that way, and you're like, all right. So you try to do something in the middle, or you pick one of their ways and you do it for a few months, and then you're like, crap, that didn't work. And then you have to go back and you're starting from scratch again, and then we go the other way. And like, you could do that, but the problem with doing that I see for most people is they'll give up way before they ever get results. They'll just try it, and that's not a validated idea, or they're like, oh, we'll just try whatever this YouTube dude said or whatever, and they'll just give up. And it sucks because it works great, but you've got to be able to, if you're going to go that route, you've really got to be able to stick with it and give up a lot of time. So I think time is the biggest thing you lose.
Mm-mm.
And that's why, for me at least, I will always pay for people's results, or pay for people's mistakes, so I don't have to do them myself, because time is important to me. I want to enjoy this as much as possible. And had I been able to do that sooner, that would have been awesome. But I can't go back.
Totally. So, how do you help people with your program to save time?
Well, just giving them an exact process, the thing I never had. So, when I originally had my agency, I left, and all those people that I was working with, all my clients that I got rid of, I say fired, but like a lot of them were friends. So it's just like, I'm not going to do this anymore. Here's other people you could work with. I just was doing my own thing, and a lot of them obviously kept in touch with me, and they're watching what I'm doing, and they're like, dude, can you just show me how to do this so I can quit, so I can do other things? And I was like, yeah, I could do that. So we started out kind of doing one-on-one, And then I realized it was taking up my time because I'm teaching the same thing 87 times in the week. So I turned it into a group thing, and I was still able to get people really good results because all I did was just give them my process. I just gave them my exact thing. It wasn't like I do one thing and I tell them something else. Like I just have something that I've done now and refined over 8 years or whatever it's been since mid 2016. And this process works really well for me for how to pick the niche and how to build the site and how to do the links and how to talk to the business owners and how to do the sales, just all of the pieces. And I've turned it into a very straightforward A to Z process that you just walk through. And then I think beyond that, the most important thing is when you hit a roadblock, which is inevitable, it absolutely happens. It will happen every single time. The experience to help people adjust the ship and send it back in the right direction. It's almost like putting the bumpers on the lanes if you're bowling. I'm keeping people on the track. So they kind of veer off and they're like, no, 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 back here. And they veer off the other way. I'm like, no, 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 over here. And just get them to the result faster. And I really like that because it's fulfilling. It's something that kind of gave me a little bit of purpose with my time. I was like, I don't really know what to do with myself before. And I really like helping people win. It's just nice watching them be able to do this, and it feels good. Like when somebody else can quit or somebody else generates a ton of leads for their business and they're pumped, I'm pumped. It's great.
That's awesome. And how else can this model be applied?
I think it's the time. It's what you want to do at the time and the money that comes in from it. So for me personally, I've taken a lot of the money that this has made, and in addition to investing into more, because I just think this is brilliant, I do it into other things. So I've really recently started acquiring real estate and businesses. And like I didn't know how to do any of that before, so I paid for more coaches on how to do this stuff. But like real estate, I just acquired a $900,000 property. Like I'd never done that before. That was really cool. So I have that just kind of building wealth for my future generation kids and so forth. So that was one. And another one was acquiring businesses. That was just something, it was kind of like a new challenge. And it was another way to make a lot of money, make a lot of impact, a lot of people that affects, because I get to hire a bunch of people, more things I can do with my time. And like I shared my brother earlier, he's worked really hard at other companies and was definitely not getting paid what he's worth, which I think most people can relate to. And when I acquired that company, I gave him 50% equity in the company. So his salary this year will be 7 times what he made last year. And in addition, we'll just work on a way to get him out of it and bring a manager in. So now, he'll be rich too. And I really like that. So that's what I've been focusing on recently. I've been using kind of pairing lead generation with acquisitions, because I can take all of these skills with website rental and I can apply it to this. I can buy a business that's a contractor type thing, and I can generate leads for that business too. And then you can run it if you want. Just running one business like that would be enough to get rid of most people's jobs, make them happy, triple, quadruple, whatever they make. But you can also use it to just leave, build up more money. I could have somebody run it and then not do it. I could put an owner operator in place, which is really cool. Or you could sell it. A lot of these companies, if you add value to it, you could sell it for multiples of what it was before. Like the company I just bought was a $2 million deal, and it's a local company. And the person who was running it, he started it 50 years ago. It had no CRM. He's got no customer list. He's got employees that have they communicate by just coming into the office. They don't have any way of communicating with everybody. He does no advertising. He's got no website. I've never seen anything like it before. He had nothing. And I was like, even if I just did just a website and a little bit of SEO, or just put in a CRM, I could just double what the business does. So like this year coming up here in April, this is going to be the first chance I have with a full season to myself to see what I can do with this. Like last year, we only had 1 month of like the hot season because I bought an ice cream business, essentially ice cream catering. And I want to see what we can do with this and how I can apply lead generation. There's probably other businesses I could have bought that were more in line with lead generation and what I do, but we really liked that one because it was kind of like one we grew up with. Like we knew the person, I just didn't know it was for sale. So it's really cool. But yeah, I mean, you could buy a paving company or plumbing company or whatever. Any of those companies, you could apply this to that, triple whatever they're doing, keep it, sell it, endless opportunity.
I was actually wondering, how did you find this business? If they didn't have any
Completely
website,
randomly,
anything, it's because you knew him.
completely random. I was looking at other things. I was trying to find a car wash business is what I was going for because my brother has experience in that. He took a new one. We had a car wash maybe 30 minutes from where we live, and a wealthy real estate investor bought the wash, just built a brand new one, or bought the land, built a brand new wash, like $3-4 million. And my brother had experience with another one, just absolutely crushing it. So they hired him, and they're just like, run the whole thing. And he's like, okay. So he brought it. He like started running it, and in 4 months, he took it from $0, like no subscribers or anything for like they have wash plans. People come in, you can just unlimited amount of washes or whatever, and they sell it $30 a month, $50, whatever it is. And he took it from zero to 150,000 a month in 4 months. So this guy's like, yeah, this is awesome. So the guy's all excited, but then he's not happy paying my brother a salary of like 80 grand or whatever it was. And I was like, he just made you like $2 million. You could pay him the 80 grand, but they're just not like that. They're greedy. So we were trying to acquire a car wash because I knew he could do the same thing if I got him another one. But we couldn't find a car wash that was reasonable because the multiples are really high. Like car wash is the hot thing right now for acquisitions. So a lot of them are going for like 5 or 6x the net income, which is just not reasonable. It's just not reasonable at all. 2 to 3x is normal, but some of these 7, 8, 9x is like, I'm not paying
Wow.
sense. Like why would I pay, $5 million to make 200 grand when I could take that same amount of money, dump that into the down payment for a different business, and then that business will make 10 times that? It just doesn't make sense. So I was looking at other businesses, and one of the ones I was looking at, the broker on the deal, he was not really supposed to do that, but he was like, I think I got a better one that you would like. He's like, it's not what you originally told me in terms of the markets you were going after, but you might like this. And when he told me the business, I was like, oh my God, that's in my hometown. I was like, I know this business. Like I bought ice creams from this place. It's like the trucks that drive around. I'm like, this is great. Okay. So we talked to the guy, and the business owner wasn't really convinced that he wanted to sell. He was just kind of like half going through with it just to see what he could get, but he wasn't really convinced. We had a meeting with him, and he just, we really liked the guy, and he liked us, and we're like, listen, we'll continue your legacy, and we'll grow this thing. Like this is one I'm not going to sell. I was like, I'll grow this thing, we'll build this up, and we'll keep this going. And it took a long time to get the deal done. I think it was like 9 months and a lot of meetings and a lot of stuff. So thank God I had a coach for that one. That I didn't. It's like, man, what a nightmare. But it's done, and that was a super cool one to get under the belt. So now it's time for number two. Got to do something with the time.
That's awesome, Luke. I mean, it's really inspiring what you're doing and what you achieved in a short amount of time. Because, I mean, building multiple businesses and having all this free time and freedom is something that people work all their life and not most of them will ever achieve. So that's, I think, is amazing.
They can though. That's the thing. It's like ignore your parents and ignore your friends because all of mine are like, don't do this. This is risky. All these other things. What's risky is staying at a job and then potentially being able to retire. Yeah, you give up 60, 70 years of your life, retire, and then die. That sounds terrible. You want the money now so you can enjoy your life.
So how can people keep in touch with you? How can our audience keep following your journey?
Go to lukevanderveer.com. I think that's the easiest way to do it, or find me on Facebook. I think my website just kind of talks about what I've done and has my trainings and some of the other things there. And then Facebook is the social media I use the most. So feel free to connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luke, for your time and enjoy your freedom. See you soon, my
Yeah.
friend.
Thank you for having me.